Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding, by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Welcome back to Flood Protection Secrets, and thank you for staying with us for this episode 6 of our 7-part mini-series Cut Costs with Smart Flood Protection Planning. Over the last 5 episodes, we've walked through the real-world challenges of protecting your property, business or public facility from flooding. We've looked on how decisions are made too often too late, and how shortcuts can cost far more than they save. If you missed any part of this journey, I really encourage you to go back. Episodes 1 through 5 are packed with stories, examples, and technical know-how that will change the way you look at flood protection. But now it's time to bring it all together. Today in part 6, I'll show you exactly how a flood protection project should begin. No matter whether you are a homeowner with a single entrance or a government authority managing an international airport. The truth is, one mistake in the beginning can ruin everything, but the right start can lead to safety, savings, and even prestige. So, start with the right kind of plan. There are 3 professional starting points for any flood mitigation project. The first starting point, I call it project planning, the plan for the plan. It outlines how and when to proceed, which services are needed, and who is involved. And the second professional starting point, I call it engineering assessment, a complete inspection of your site or compound, but with a fundamental investigation. It identifies all water ingress points and recommends tailored technical solutions, including a budget price later on. And the third professional starting point, I call it technical inspection. It is a focused review of one or several openings, or even some more openings, comparing specific flood barrier technologies and their feasibility. But it's focused on the openings only, whereas the engineering assessment considers a whole lot, a whole compound, a whole area. And the project planning, for instance, is needed when it comes to the flood protection of an airport or a metro system or a huge hospital compound with several buildings. That is a difference. So these 3 professional starting points for any flood protection project you have. Number 1, project planning. Number 2, engineering assessment. Number 3, technical inspection. So which group are you in? Let's make it practical, that you better understand it and how it applies for your needs. Which of these best describes you? Group 1. Do you belong to those who say, I know exactly what I need? Example, you are a homeowner and want to protect a garage with a 5-meter opening width and you need a 1.2 meters high, that is up to the hips, almost, flood protection. So the recommended next step, book a technical inspection immediately before purchasing. Because this technical inspection will investigate your garage, the opening, and will check whether the flood barriers can be installed as predicted, as you want to have them installed. Perhaps it is not possible. Group number 2, do you belong to this group? I know what I need, but I cannot decide between options. Example, and imagine. You are a business or manager, or you work for the municipality, for instance. And you have one large 6-meter gate and one smaller personal entrance. So you are unsure between demountable flood barriers, flip-up flood barriers, or a gate. So the type of existing door, a swinging gate, the type of existing doors, space, and foundation matters. So it's not really clear. So the recommended next step, schedule a technical inspection before purchasing to assess all options technically and practically. But because what most of the people are doing, they ask for all these options and they have all these prices and they still don't know what to do because they only see, oh, this one is more expensive than the other one and that is more expensive than the previous one. But what are the benefits? What are the advantages? You don't know about that. That is why a technical inspection will help. Or do you belong to group number 3, who say, I need flood protection, but don't know where or how? And that is for all these groups, let's say with less than 15 openings, more or less. I say 15, can be 13, 16, or something like that. Example, you are in charge of a public building or a factory, perhaps a factory that is easier to imagine. So a factory, and the factory manufactures bicycles that will be exported to the world. So you are a bicycle manufacturer. And you have multiple vulnerable areas, but lack a full overview about it. So the recommended next step is request an engineering assessment. This gives you a complete diagnosis, so an evaluation of the property. That gives you recommended technologies. That gives you expected construction works. And it gives you a budget estimate with up to 3 technical scenarios. And there's one note I want to add. Add a hydrological study only when needed. Just make sure it's done by a certified flood expert. The hydrological study only gives you data from the past, from the last 30, 40 years or whatever. But you need a solution for the future. That is what we always hear. And I'm wondering that people spend money for that, because this hydrological study doesn't solve you one single problem. The only result is it extends your project and you are still not flood protected. At the end, you know the same what you know before. These guys don't help you. They cannot protect your factory. That was group 3. I need flood protection, but I don't know where or how. So the bicycle manufacturing site with less than 15 openings. I said, okay, go for an engineering assessment and check out what perhaps there's an entrance number 16 or 17. That is what we realize very often. And they also consider, of course, a drainage system, public sewer, and all these kind of things, and slopes, and so on and so forth. That's the difference to a technical inspection. Group number 4, perhaps you belong to this group. I need flood protection, but for large-scale, complex sites, I have more than 15 openings. We had a case with 74 openings. Not 74, 97 openings, for instance. So this includes a hotel with 60 plus entrances. In fact, I visited a 5-star hotel in the Philippines and they started with 5 entrances, and they increased to, I think, 18, then 35. At the end, we ended up with 64 entrances. The people even did not realize that there was a door somewhere. Because it was done without any plan. Or you have a factory with 100 plus access points, or an international airport, or a metro system with 45 underground stations, a citywide network of 45 pumping stations. So the recommendation for the next step is begin with an initial project planning, a consultation. Why? Because it isn't just about selecting a product. It is about aligning teams, timelines, and goals at a strategic level. Before my example with a hotel in group 3, with a hotel up to 15 openings. That is relatively easy. You make an engineering assessment, you can start. But here, when you have so many entrances, when you have so many access points, or you have a metro system with 45 underground stations or 45 pumping stations somewhere. The question is, first, you cannot start with an assessment for all 45 areas or with 60 entrances. I mean, what will be the result? The result is what I always offer. I choose the flood barriers among the top 14 flood barriers in the world. That is how I name them and how I selected them. And which barriers will fit to which entrance? And the next question is does the customer have the money That is very often not the case because they even don't know how much it will cost. So don't start with these technical details. Start with a big plan first. The overview makes a plan for the plan, and that is what we call an initial project planning consultation. Project planning, that was a keyword for this group with so many openings. Okay? So, but what you will receive from a proper project start. So, there is a lot what you will get. So number one is a comprehensive project process overview. You get a clear timeline. You get the stakeholders defined. You have the communication channel set, the budget range estimated. All these things you need to execute the project. If you haven't done it yet, if you haven't defined your timeline and the stakeholders are not defined, the communication channels are not set, the budget range is not estimated, what will you do? Why you ask for a quotation? It's completely useless. It's a waste of time for everybody because you will never finish your project. That is what I've seen in more than 30 years of experience in projects. It's always the same. All over the world, by the way. Professional recommendations and case studies. That's the next point, the second point. Learn from proven successes like, for the Middle East, I always mention the Qatar Foundation projects in Doha Education City, including the National Library and the Qatar National Convention Center, etc. Avoid mistakes made in cities like Dubai, which suffered severe flooding in December 21 and April 2023. That was and last year in April 16, 2024. Transparent services, no surprise costs. So every service, cost and delivery is clear from day one. There are no hidden fees. There is no guesswork. And that is so important. I will just repeat the 3 points. What you will receive from a project, proper project start. You get a comprehensive project process overview. You get the professional recommendations, plural, and case studies. You can better compare, does it fit for you or not? And you get transparent services and no surprise costs. I always say it is a no surprise budget, what I share with the customers. Because, there are these black sheeps in the market who promise you the paradise. And then once you have signed, suddenly costs are exploding. And sometimes you pay not only twice, even 3 times what you wanted to pay before. Or you never finish your project. So the next, that was which group are you in and what you will receive. There are 4 powerful advantages I want to share with you of starting right. The first advantage is small investment, big clarity. You avoid wasting thousands or millions later. Second advantage of starting right, flexibility. After your consultation, you're free to choose the best path. Advantage number 3 of starting right is the faster protection. You'll be safer months earlier than with traditional methods. And because you take decisions faster and there is no, most probably no change order, fundamental change order later on that might delay the whole project again. And then you have a delay in delivery time and so on and so forth. So you are faster protected. And the advantage number 4 of starting right is a prestige and peace of mind. You protect your facility and your reputation. Yeah, I think it's worth it, a hand of applause. And it is your reputation at the end of the day. Whether you are the owner and you want to increase your international or national reputation, or you are an employed manager for a company. So all these things that I mentioned, it's called the RS Flood Protection Initial Consultation. And you speak directly to flood experts. There's no friction, no delays. What you sometimes have when you talk to local sales representatives. That is also okay. We also use local sales representatives. But their task is not to come up with a detailed technical solution. That is never the case. That is that is up to the seniors, that is up to the flood experts. That is the same when you talk to an architectural firm. I mean, that is the head architect who will give you the secrets at the end of the day and the surprising solutions, and who is able to reduce your costs. And the team is helping, is supporting what the boss is doing. So you speak directly to flood experts. That is, don't expect that the people on site have all the knowledge that you expect. If that would be the case, I mean, the price would explode. You cannot do that. I've seen in so many cities and countries, there are people running around, and if you ask them that is what customers tell me sometimes. They tell me, yeah, we talked to a competitor, but this guy doesn't know anything. He just took a photo and measured the opening width. Then I asked one question, he said, I cannot answer. Of course he cannot. So don't spend your time with that, because that doesn't bring you one step closer to the final decision. So if you speak to flood experts, no friction, no delays, you just get smart technology, a tailor-made plan, and zero surprises. That is what you want. So let's summarize this part 6. We are almost at the end of this mini-series. Cut costs with smart flood protection planning. The final step. A strong project starts with a right plan. Choose the path that fits your needs, and trust only those who show results, not just price tags. The time is now before the next storm hits. In this episode, we helped you rethink how to begin your flood protection journey. And with that, we've reached the end of part 6. Our final deep dive into the technical strategies, planning scenarios, and decision-making steps that turn flood protection from confusion into clarity. But wait, before you close this mini-series and move on, I've saved one more goodie for you. Part 7 is coming up. A bonus wrap-up episode where I summarize all the essential insights from parts 1 through 6. You'll get the full roadmap, quick, structured, and perfect. If you want to refresh your memory, share it with your team, or just have a checklist to guide your next flood protection project. If you learned something valuable from this series, if you are thinking differently about your safety, your investment, and your future, then don't miss the final episode. It's a recap you didn't know you needed. And remember, flood protection isn't just about stopping water. It's about starting smarter. So subscribe now to Flood Protection Secrets so you don't miss the last part, or reach out to me or my team directly. Just search Andreas Klippe, that's me, or check the links in the episode description. Stay safe, stay flood free, and don't miss part 7, your flood protection recap and final guide to cutting costs with smart planning. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with a new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us, or just click through to www.floodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.